Well, I'm sitting here.
Thank you, David, and welcome to everyone. If you haven't been into one of the online meetings, let me just explain briefly.
Volume up.
We are participating in a live conversation with David and I about the trip. I'm going to give you some hopefully good chestnuts about Iceland and the experience. But it's mostly designed to be a conversation for YouTube and the web page for the travel club. And so many thousands of people will watch this video that we're doing right now. At the end of the short presentation, if you have questions or things that might be able to tell you about Iceland, I'll be happy to do that. So we're very happy you're with us, and we're going to give you kind of a taste of what this experience is all about. From an escort standpoint, I've traveled extensively in the world, 148 countries, but have been to Iceland many, many times. In fact, I'm going to be in Iceland again in 2 weeks at the end of the Travel Club Scandinavia Polar Express train tour of Scandinavia. And that's a good place to start for this trip. As David advances the slide, this trip is of the focus of the Northern Lights of Iceland. This is right in the sweet spot if you've ever wanted to see the Northern Lights. There are a couple of really great places to see Northern Lights. In general, the best in the world is in the northern half of Norway, especially the Arctic Circle, in Alaska, especially above Fairbanks, approaching the Arctic Circle, and then Iceland. Those are the three principal great places to see the Northern Lights on this planet. For Iceland, this trip is called Northern Lights of Iceland, and this is really also a great time to go. People visit Iceland in the summer, as you can imagine, like most travel to Europe. Not quite, at least not for us. There's a lot of winter tourism to Scandinavia, including Iceland, in the winter months, but it is exceptionally cold. This is a mid-season. October is a mid-season. Northern Lights will begin in northern Norway, actually a little bit earlier than Iceland, just a week or two earlier. But September and October are really good times to visit Iceland to be able to see the Northern Lights and, of course, everything else. This itinerary that the Travel Club is doing, I like very much. I like it because it's leisurely paced. It doesn't move too much. It is in 2 locations, and you're in Reykjavik at the beginning of the trip and the end of the trip. I also like it because it allows you to plan ahead. If you would like, October 12th through the 19th of 2027, or you can plan now for 2028, October 10 to 17. So in general, this trip is called exactly what one of its big highlights are, which is the Northern Lights of Iceland. You're going in the perfect time to do it. It's not the daylight. You have a tremendous amount of daylight in the summer. If you were even farther north on the Norway side of the Arctic Ocean, you would have midnight sun. And you have very long sun days in Iceland in the summer. And then you have very dark days in the winter. It's moderate to, I wouldn't even say warm in Iceland in the summer. And then it can be very cold in the winter, This is a middle season. So you have darkness. You can get away from population centers, of which there are not huge population centers anyway in Iceland, to get away from what is called light pollution. And light pollution is the number one thing that impedes seeing the northern lights. And actually, for us in Florida, in the villages and other like locations, it's easier to get to Iceland than it is to get to Alaska. So another reason why the northern lights are great. And we're going to talk about the itinerary and what you do. Next slide, David. So first off, it's 8 days. It's $1,999. That includes all of the taxes and fees, $250 a day. Very good value. You have a choice of 3-star first-class hotels or deluxe 4-star hotels on the itinerary. Next. Of course, the trip is escorted. It is either escorted traveling with you from the United States. The escort will come from the United States, or it's locally escorted if it's less than 30 guests. And either way, it's an escorted experience. And it's very inclusive in terms of your sightseeing. Lots of experts doing sightseeing supplemental sightseeing tours, in addition to the escort handling all of the arrangements. Next. Well, Iceland, as I've already said at the beginning, is one of the best places in the world to see the northern lights. I would imagine in a clear week, as you see the picture there, on a clear week, you probably have chance of seeing the northern lights even in the city. Now, Iceland's population is very small. It is a Scandinavian country. A lot of people don't realize, because of it being an island, it is part of what is considered Scandinavia. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. Some people include Greenland. I'm a purist. I do not. But it is the fourth of the Scandinavian countries. Its roots are based on the Vikings and the discovery of Iceland, and the people of Iceland were originally Vikings. It is a small population. Reykjavik is the capital, but even in a metropolitan area, which is the most liberal definition you can give to Reykjavik, you're talking 200,000 people. Then, in terms of other places in Iceland, it is exceptionally small, which makes it great because of the natural environment. And for this trip, it makes it especially good because, as I said, light pollution is the number one enemy to seeing the northern lights. The reason why northern Alaska, above the Arctic Circle in Norway, is so good is because the population centers are so small. And that is true in Iceland also. Next. Well, it's a perfect combination of what you see. I love that picture. Reykjavik is the capital. This is where you fly in and out of. Just a brief note about flying on this trip. Reykjavik is the best, easiest place in Europe to get to from Florida. The number one reason is Iceland Air, which I have flown many times. I like them very much. It is the national flag air carrier of Iceland, and it flies to many places in Europe. You can continue on. I'm flying from Oslo on the return to Reykjavik and doing a stopover. And in this instance, Iceland Air is a really good choice for you. Consider in advance. First off, you can fly from Orlando to Reykjavik nonstop. It is the shortest flight to Europe from Florida nonstop to Reykjavik. Iceland Air is really excellent also because they have a stopover program, and you can stop over for free both going and coming. So, for example, if you wanted to do more of Europe in addition to this tour, it is really easy to do. You can fly on Iceland Air, and what you would do is you would fly, let's say if you were going to do the 2027 trip, you're going to depart on October 12 from Orlando, overnight flight to Europe. You arrive in Reykjavik on the 13th. You do the tour, and then you continue on the 18th on a flight to Europe, someplace that you want to go, London, Oslo, Paris, other places in Europe, and your stop in Reykjavik on Iceland Air is free. So as a result, you can do Iceland in this itinerary and someplace else in Europe. And when you return from Europe, you could do the tour in Iceland coming back from Europe, however you want to do it. So I always make the note about Iceland Air. You want to be sure and look at that because it is nonstop from Orlando. It's going to be as competitive as anything that is available flying to Europe, and it gives you free stopover. And in this instance, the tour becomes the free stopover because you can fly on to another destination in Europe at no additional charge with your stop in Reykjavik. So it makes it really great. Iceland is a combination. So I've already told you, in all of my visits to Iceland, I'm always struck by how few people exist in Iceland. And frankly, that is a really nice thing. There's 25 cities in Germany and France that have more people in their city than the entire country of Iceland. So as a result, the natural wonder of Iceland is so significant. Lots of waterfalls, glaciers, volcanoes, black sand beaches, national parks, and very small communities. Reykjavik is the city, and it is basically a one city country. The other cities and towns are exceptionally small. One other thing that I always point out on Iceland that's really important, the name is kind of a misgiving. Is it covered in ice? No, it is not. Iceland means that they do have glaciers, but it's not like Greenland. And when you go to Greenland, a very substantial percentage of the landmass of Greenland is glaciated. Iceland is not. They have glaciers, but the country is not covered in glaciers. And so people always, I've escorted so many times, and people always say to me halfway through the trip or at the end of the trip, I was really expecting it to be all glacier ice. It is not. The name is Iceland, but it is very interesting in its topography with waterfalls, rivers. They do have glaciers, volcanoes, black sand beaches, national parks, etc. Great combination. Yes, that's absolutely true. And that is an absolute picture perfect. Iceland is green, Greenland is ice. Yeah, that's great. You had a very smart teacher, David. Next slide, please. It includes all of your transportation. Now, as I said, the travel club does not include air. I never encourage people to let somebody handle your air. I don't allow anyone to handle my air. I handle my own air. And it's not because I'm an escort and traveling the world. It's just, I think, good advice to you. Those that provide air, it can be risky. Not to say that anything will happen, but there's never a problem until there's a problem. The age-old adage. If you have a problem with your airfare, you have a misconnect, you have a delay, you have a mechanical, you have a medical on your flight, and they make an emergency landing someplace else, other different kinds of things that can happen. If you do not ticket your air, you are not the airline's client. If Expedia or AAA handles your air, the client of the airline is Expedia or AAA. And what the airline will do, lots of experience with this in 40 years of travel and doing this, a little more than 40 years actually, is they will say, you've got to contact the agent that booked your air. And they're going to send you back to Expedia or AAA. And they do a great job. Both of those companies are fantastic for different reasons. But you don't want the time to have to go back and spend the time to contact somebody that did your air ticketing. So as a result, if you're going to fly Iceland Air, for example, or SAS, or American and United, whoever you're going to choose, make sure you ticket it directly, because then you're their client. The reason that is important to you as I talk about this on transportation is both on your arrival in Reykjavik and your departure. It includes the most important thing to you, which is your transfers. So, regardless of when you arrive in Reykjavik and regardless of when you depart, the Happening Travel Club is going to arrange private transfers for you. They're private. If you are a single traveler coming in at 3:10 a.m., hopefully you're not doing that. But if you were, the travel club is going to provide a private transfer for you from Reykjavik to your arrival hotel. And the same for your departure from your Reykjavik hotel back to the airports, timed exactly correct to get you to the airport in the time that you need for check-in. So transfers are included. And then throughout the entire trip, all of your transportation is included while you're in Iceland. Next. One of the things that I'm really enjoying with the travel club is this concept of having social meetings. Last week, for example, the travel club next August, I am escorting a trip for the travel club next August to Africa on safari, going to Victoria Falls before the safari at Kruger National Park, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, and then a post trip to Madagascar. The trip has 60 passengers on it. 60 on safari. We held a social last week at Lake Sumter Landing, 1 year in advance of the trip. Let that digest over you. It's a proof positive that this is different than a travel company. They are not. Happening Travel Club is not a travel agency. They're not a tour company. They're not a bus company. They are an educational nonprofit. It's called a 501c3. And one of the examples is this. They will hold socials for the trip where primarily it's designed to get together with your escort that'll be escorting your trip when that's possible, and especially to meet the other passengers on the trip. Now, in general, these socials are held in the villages area, and people from other areas are invited to come and participate. But in general, it gives you the opportunity to meet many of the other guests that are on the trip. And the desire to have these socials is so people can get together and interact and begin to meet each other. So there's some level of knowing the people that are traveling on the trip, as opposed to waiting on that first evening when you're jet lagging and you're landing in your European capital, in this instance, Reykjavik. So this is a really nice feature. And there will be several socials in 2027 for this trip, and then in 2028. For that departure. I like it very much. Next. This is a private trip. It's very difficult, I think, for many people to understand because travel agencies, tour operators market to everyone. The Happening Travel Club does not. You must be a member of the travel club. It's $24 a year to be a member. It has followed the model in 2026 of Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's. And the reason they do that is because they're a 501c3, many vendors can participate in the trip and do something special for members and the travel club because it is a nonprofit. That might be in a reduction in price. That might be providing more upgrades or benefits. It can be done in various different ways. But the only way vendors participate in that is if it's not available to everyone. It must be a private club. And obviously, as you realize, it can't be anything but a private club because other people in the travel industry would complain that you're giving special benefits to one organization, that it should be for everyone. When you become private and membership only, you eliminate that objection. And as a result, vendors participate in it. So that's this situation also. You must be a member of the travel club. Next. All right, so let's talk about the itinerary itself. So first, overnight flight to Iceland. Now, sometimes there's confusion about this because people look at itineraries that land in Europe or in Sydney, Australia, or in Tokyo in Asia, and they think that's the first day. It is not. The first day of your trip is your departure from your gateway. So I presume that many to most of the people participating are in Florida. And if you're in Florida, you're likely going to be departing from Orlando or Tampa or Miami. Those are the big international gateways to Europe. In this instance, Orlando, very beneficial because of Iceland Air and the nonstop between Orlando and Reykjavik. Your departure then of the trip is the day one. The trip departs October 12, 2027, or October 10 of 2028. That is day one. The itinerary is correct. And sometimes guests make a mistake because they think it should be the arrival in Europe. It should not be. What you want to remember is your departure from the United States, from Florida, if you're in Florida. And that would be October 12 of next year or October 10 of 2028. And that is an overnight flight. So, for example, I leave on Saturday to Scandinavia, one of the Scandinavian countries like Iceland. I will be departing from Orlando at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I arrive at 10 a.m. the following morning with the time change, etc. But my departure is Saturday, arriving on Sunday, and that's what this reflects on day one. Next. Then on day two, we arrive in Reykjavik. Reykjavik is a big city for Iceland. It's a tiny little town for all of us. Reykjavik is roughly the same size of the metro area of the villages. Roughly the same population between south of Ocala to north of Leesburg. That is Reykjavik in terms of population. Downtown Reykjavik will seem like a small, mid-sized town in the United States. The plus of that is it's very comfortable. It is not a rush city. It is not thousands of people boarding trains, going to all kinds of places like you would see in London and Paris. And we love that, but that's not what Reykjavik is. Reykjavik is a small feel of a mid-sized town in the United States. Reykjavik is going to feel like Daytona Beach, and even Daytona Beach is big compared to Reykjavik, but that's the kind of feel it's going to have. A little bit larger than Ocala, but that's the feel of Reykjavik. When you arrive in Reykjavik, you're going to be met at the airport. You come through Customs and Immigrations, and the representative from the Happening Travel Club will have a sign. You come out of Customs and Immigrations, and then you take the transfer to your hotel. You jet lag on the first day. So you're going to fly in the evening, wherever you're coming from in the United States, and you're going to arrive in the morning of day two. You're arriving in this morning. We always say, my advice always to travel club members is, of course, you have to stay up all day because you want to fight that jet lag. And as a result, that's why the travel club has a happy hour in the late afternoon. On day one, you've checked into your hotel and there's a welcome dinner. And it is completely designed to keep you up. It's uncomfortable, but it's the best way to fight off jet lag and get over it as quickly as possible, encouraging you not to go to bed until 10 p.m. on day two in Reykjavik. But you'll meet the escort and all of your fellow companions, many of which you will know because you've been to socials where you have met them, and that will happen on day two. Then next, on day three, is sightseeing in Reykjavik. And this is a sightseeing tour in addition to the escort from a Happening Travel Club. This will be what is considered a local expert. And so on your motor coach sightseeing tour, you're going to see all of the major sites of the capital. And it is going to be with what is considered a local guide. And in addition to the escort from Happening Travel Club traveling with you, this person is a Reykjavik and Iceland expert. I could do, for example, a tour of Reykjavik for you. And I would think most of you would be very satisfied with what I would do, but not in this instance, because Reykjavik and Iceland in general, when we do these sightseeing tours, is very specialized. And so as a result, you want somebody that is in Iceland 365 days a year. And that's what happens today in your sightseeing. The sightseeing tour is what's considered half day. So it'll be 3 hours to 4 hours. And then you'll have the afternoon at your leisure. And you have the ability for fine dining or whatever you would like to do in Reykjavik on the first evening. Then on day 4, you are going to leave Reykjavik. Now, the population, as I've already told you, is relatively small, especially for a capital city. And now it really gets small. You are ultimately going to the city of Vik. You see it there, V-I-K. You are going to do full day of sightseeing, traveling to Vik. You're going to go to Thingvellir. You're going to Geyser, which is a location on the southern coast of Iceland. You're going to go to Gullfoss, and then you're going to end up in Vik. You're traveling the southern route of the southern tip of Iceland. You're going to see geysers. You're going to see a volcano. You're going to see waterfalls on this day. And you're going to Vik, and you're going to overnight, and you're going to stay again, leisurely paced, 2 nights. Now, Vik is interesting because it gives you a rural experience in Iceland. Most itineraries, honestly, that go to Iceland, they stay in Reykjavik the entire time. You could do this as a day trip. You could go to Vik as a day trip. I applaud the travel club not doing that because it allows you to do more sightseeing of the coastal region, to get onto the black sand beach, which is quite beautiful, to make more stops like the geysers that you will see on this day trip. And then it gives you the experience of what it's like to stay in a Arctic region. You're not above the Arctic Circle. You're close, but you're not above the Arctic Circle. So it gives you the feel of what small town in a Scandinavian country is like. Vik's population is under 1,000 people. That's how small the town that you are staying in. It requires the entire region to support the tourism infrastructure in Vik, which is one of the most popular in Iceland. It is a very scenic place to stay and to see, and a good base for a 2-night stay. It's a lovely experience not being in the capital. And you weren't in a big city in the first place. Now you're for sure not in a big city, and you will feel that in your 2-night stay in Vik. On day 5, we do sightseeing for the day to Skaftafell National Park and the lakes region. You see here, you're going to see glaciers. You're going to see more waterfalls on this day trip from Vik. One of the big highlights of what you do here is, first, this is probably going to be your best experience for the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. And the reason it's better here than it is in Iceland, again, light pollution. It's a word that you're going to hear the Icelanders say over and over again. Northern Lights are highly influenced. Oh, I'm seeing over David's shoulder. He has the Northern Lights in his screensaver right there. That image, do that again, David. That image you're looking at is magnetic reflection of sun on through the atmosphere of Earth. And that's really what you're seeing. The best way to see that, especially the greens and the blues that are the most common in seeing in the Aurora Borealis, is with limited light pollution. You don't want street lights. You don't want big city lights, etc., interfering with that reflection view that you have. And the motion, I know all of us have seen Northern Lights in motion in video. You can do that on YouTube. Just put in Northern Lights of Iceland or Northern Lights of Norway and you'll see it. And the motion of the Northern Lights is not really technically motion. It's the motion of the light waves that is coming from the sun that is bouncing off our atmosphere, and that's why it looks like it is moving, because it is moving, but it's not really moving. It's the motion of the sunlight and the sun rays that are coming. This is a lovely day in terms of sightseeing, very remote, very rural, lots of things to see. You'll see the icebergs in lakes. Lots of people do not realize that lakes have icebergs. If you've been to Alaska in the past 20 years, my biggest disappointment is so many of the lakes, they used to be full of icebergs, but because of global warming, they're gone. In Iceland, they're still there, and you'll see the icebergs in freshwater lakes. You'll see glaciated regions, big meadows, beautiful mountains. The mountains are not particularly tall anywhere in Scandinavia, but scenic just the same. So a very nice day. One other thing I should say to you is when we get to Vik on the first day of our 2-night stay in Vik, we have a welcome dinner in Vik, which will be quite fun. And through the entire time, you have breakfast included. And breakfast is very nice in Scandinavia because it is one of the remaining places that's holding on to the idea that breakfast is important. All over Europe, certainly in the United States with our limited service Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn kinds of hotels, we've gotten away from the idea that breakfast is very important, except for grabbing a quick bagel or an English muffin and a cup of coffee, and that's breakfast. That is not the case in Scandinavia still, and not in Iceland. They're quite expansive and very enjoyable. That's day 5. Now, we've stayed 2 nights in Reykjavik, 2 nights in Vik, in outer region. Now we come back to Reykjavik, and another day doing a bit of a northern route. And on this day, you're going to see the most famous black sand beach in Iceland, and you're going to see a number of waterfalls. Waterfalls in the southern half of Iceland are quite spectacular. There's more than 1,000 very significant waterfalls like the one that you're seeing here at the national park. And it's another very scenic day. One other thing that I would say for all of us, I'm in the same age group as all of us that would be traveling on the trip. This is not a significant walking experience. Transportation gets you to almost everything that you want to see. You can walk more in Reykjavik, of course, and you can walk somewhat in Vik. It's just not very big. And then your sightseeing experiences in the national parks, at the beaches of black sand, in the different glacier to see glacier. You can't walk on a glacier in Iceland. And to the waterfalls, the walking is very easy. This is moderate grade walking for this trip experience. So it's available really for everyone. You return back to Reykjavik, and again, leisurely pace because you stay 2 more nights in Reykjavik. Now that's important to you because you're going to have a bit more free time in Reykjavik to do all of the things that you didn't do in your sightseeing. And so in our 2-night stay, that really gives you, because this is a full day experience, you're going to come in the late afternoon to Reykjavik, and you're going to be in Reykjavik for a welcome dinner back to the capital. So this is a full day. You have no additional time really for shopping, etc. You are going to have that on the following day. So now we go to day 7. And on day 7, you have a day at leisure. And on the day at leisure, there is, of course, shopping, various different kinds. There's museums. All of the Viking lore that you're going to learn about in Iceland is in museum in Reykjavik. All of the best exhibits museum-wise in the entire country are in Reykjavik. So you have a full day to do that. Very easy. To get across the entire city is 15 to 20 minutes. Think about Ocala going from the World Equestrian Center to 301 on the east side of 301 on the east side of Ocala. That's what Reykjavik is like. Very easy process. One of the big, I don't know if we have a picture of it, but one of the big things to do on this day is the Blue Lagoon. I don't recall if there's a picture of it, but let me describe what you do. Blue Lagoon is one of the most famous attractions in all of Europe. If there are 20 attractions to do, Blue Lagoon always appears on the list. Condé Nast Travelers, top 10 thing to do in Europe for Condé Nast Travelers. Blue Lagoon is a natural geothermal pool, a very large pool that is heated by volcanic activity. And the Blue Lagoon, there we go, is very famous in that it is basically one of the best pools you've ever been to in your life. They have changing rooms, they have food and drink. This picture, the air temperature, we could be there on February 15th and the air temperature be 2 degrees. And this would be fantastic to get into. And I have been in this pool when it literally is freezing. And I've had people say that have never been to Iceland, well, how is that possible? Because you would, even if you're in these very thermal heated waters, you're still really cold of everything exposed above the water. No, it is steaming. So everything from about 18 to 24 inches has as much as a 50-degree temperature change. And so it is completely comfortable. People come to this, the Blue Lagoon, and they have cocktails, and they do sunset, or they do sunrise, or, et cetera, various different things. It's something that I encourage you to do. It's a lot of fun, even if you don't like to get into a lake or something like this. It is a very unique experience. And that's one of the things that you can do today. Other big is the museums of Viking lore in Reykjavik. And then, of course, is shopping. There's lots of interesting things to see and do. That is our final night in Reykjavik. So then we finish on day 8. And we are going to, that picture's funny. We are going to transfer to the airport. If your flight is at 8 a.m. in the morning, your transfer is going to be scheduled exactly correct to get you to the airport in time, plenty of time for your check-in. Regardless of what your time is, you may be going on to using Iceland Air's free stopover and continue on to London or Paris or Oslo or Stockholm or wherever it is that you would like to go. You can do that as a free stopover and get Iceland and another destination for free. And so regardless of what you do, whether you do that going to Europe or coming back, that's one of the value advantages of Iceland Air on this experience. So you may be continuing on to Europe, or this tour means that you could have been coming back from Europe and you're stopping in Iceland to do it. And so your transfer is included. You'll fly back to wherever your gateway is. If you're Floridian, Orlando with Iceland Air, certainly a great choice. Miami, Tampa, or wherever it would be in the United States. Next slide. So the deposit for the trip is $499. The final payment is 120 days prior. I always help members explain. When I'm traveling with them, I get asked lots of questions about this. Reservations are only done online, 100%. If you're not familiar with the QR code, that little thing with the dinosaur in the middle of it, that's a QR code. All you have to do is take your phone and put it in front of that QR code on your camera, like you were taking a picture. And I believe it's yellow. A little link will come up right in your phone. You touch it, and it'll take you right to the page and reservations for this trip. That's what the value of the QR code is. If you're a little more old-fashioned, like me, all you have to do is on the website, go to happening.travel. And the travel club has given you the direct links to the name of this trip on the page, but you don't even need that. You can go to just happening.travel. And when you get to the home page, it gives you different prompts right at the top of the page. Click Europe, and you can scroll through their Europe trips, and you'll see the Northern Lights Iceland adventure. You click on that, and I encourage you to do that. Make sure you do that because it gives you much more detail of the descriptions, the inclusions, et cetera, and so on for the trip. And you should look at all of that. But that reservation can be done that way. Next. If you like these kind of online meetings, hopefully you can learn a lot in looking at the itinerary. The next one is going to be in September for China and Hong Kong. And just watch from your emails that you get from the travel club. They've been adding these quite frequently. And it's an interesting opportunity to speak to people all over the world that could be experts in the destination. I'm considered an expert on this destination because I've done it so many times. But if the travel club didn't have access to a volunteer like me, they might have somebody come in from Reykjavik's tourism board or the Iceland tourism board, etc., to help David with this. Next slide. So it's a summary of the experience of doing the Aurora. Many people, I have many friends that go to Alaska. They go in September hoping to do the Aurora, and overwhelmingly they don't get to see it. And the reason is because it's too early. The Alaska season ends before the Aurora really gets started in terms of the fall to winter transition of the winter solstice. So that's not what the situation will be in Iceland. As I said, you can go to the Arctic in Norway. You can do this time period in October in Iceland, or you can go to Alaska, but you've got to go very far north, Fairbanks, or farther north, Chena Hot Springs, etc. But later in the season, like this, you have to go in October. And if you've never been to Alaska in October, there's nobody in Alaska in October except the hardy Alaskans. And so this is the best place to do the Aurora Borealis because it's easier to get to, nonstop to Iceland, and you get the civilization of a small capital and the experience of a very interesting remote destination in Vik outside of the capital. And then you get to see all of these amazing features that Iceland does. Next. So those are the two departures for 2027 or even in 2028. So you've got 14 months to plan or 26 months to plan. Adequate opportunity for Iceland. So that's kind of the summary. I'm happy to help you in experiences, answering any particular questions that you might have. And David, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I'm available to whatever you'd like me to do. And David, I'm always curious when we talk about the chat bubble. That's the little thing next to the 9 dots, right to the left of it, correct?
Yeah.
So all I have to do is click on that and then type whatever I want to ask. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, several questions. And since the Vic is very small, 2 days at Vic, what are the accommodations like in Vic? One question. The second question is, it looks like Vic is kind of the south part of Reykjavik, so you're not really able to really see the northern lights there or Reykjavik. And it looked like you only had 1 day that you could actually be exposed to the northern lights. That's the second question.
Oh. Wait, David, hold on one sec. Let me help with the first concept, the first question about hotels. The hotel accommodations are good. I would suggest on go to the travel page, the travel clubs page, the Happening Travel Clubs page. The hotel information is in the page, and then go to TripAdvisor and put in the hotel name specifically. And TripAdvisor will give you a lot of information from actual people that have stayed at the hotel, and they'll describe it. Actually, it is very funny. Vic does a thing that's called punching above its weight. And it's punching above its weight because there is good accommodation in Vic when you consider the size that Vic is. But that is because it's a regional destination. And people that are the hotels that have been built there and the people that are working in Vic and the region are because tourism is so important to the region. So the accommodations are actually quite good. I would have you, in general, I do not think you will have any issue at all or of any problem on the 3-star or the 4-star hotel. Gives me the opportunity to say I always prefer the 4-star hotel. They're larger. They have more features and benefits in Europe. Europe really micro analyzes their hotels because hotels in general are much smaller in Europe than they are in the United States. And so 4-star hotels are just a better choice for you if you would like the upgrade ability. So I would have, I don't think you'll have issue with the accommodation. In terms of the Northern Lights, while the premise of what Stephen just said and outlined for us, it's not correct. You, in your 6-night stay, you have chance for Northern Lights every single night of the trip. In Iceland, there is 3 very good locations in Reykjavik alone for Northern Lights. Reykjavik has very significant Northern Lights tourism, just like Alaska does. There is a very significant number of people that come to Fairbanks every winter and stay at Chena Hot Springs, which is kind of like the Blue Lagoon. It's smaller, but it's kind of like the Blue Lagoon in Reykjavik. They come specifically to stay there to see the Northern Lights. In this instance, Reykjavik has 3 very good locations to see the Northern Lights. It's not the location, while there's light pollution in Reykjavik, which is true because it's a larger city, you still in minutes, and I mean within 15 minutes, get out of central Reykjavik to locations where the aurora is going to be very clear to you. What is a greater problem in seeing the aurora is not the light pollution, although that is the man-made issue, is the weather conditions. And if you're cloudy and or an overcast, that has more of a substantive effect on seeing the aurora than light pollution. So in general, you are going to have all 6 nights of your accommodation, 2 in Reykjavik, 2 in Vik, 2 in Reykjavik. You're going to have significant opportunity to see the aurora. And it's focused as an aurora event in Vik just simply because you're so remote. Literally, in terms of any risk of light pollution, you have 2 evenings where within 5 minutes you're out of Vik and you're into virtual darkness with no light pollution. So your highest 2 quality days for the aurora are your 2 nights in Vik, but Reykjavik absolutely has potential of aurora sighting. Hope that helps.
So if you're in Reykjavik and you have to go 15 minutes out of the city for the light pollution or whatever, is there a tour or is it?
There is. The travel club doesn't have that currently set up because the thinking is you're going to see the aurora in Vik. So they don't have that set up in Reykjavik. If it were me and I was on this trip, I wouldn't even give a second thought in terms of being able to do it. So, for example, the escort from the Happening Travel Club is going to give you recommendations on the aurora for the entire week. You'll hear constant updates. I could do that for you right now, today, 14 months in advance. Of course, it's not accurate. And the reason it's not accurate, not because I don't think you can see the aurora, you can. It's just I don't know what the weather is going to be. So while you're there, that's what really becomes important. So you may be in a situation, for example, where you're going to have clear skies at 10 o'clock in the evening, and you're in Reykjavik, and you can arrange to go to a location that the escort is going to, the Happening Travel Club escort is going to provide for you to be able to go and see it because it's clear. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's going to be overcast. So as a result, your window is 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Or it might be early in the morning. It's just it's similar to wildlife sightings when you're on safari in Africa. That being said, one of the things that's really important is to, I would highly recommend that you get Uber on your phone. In Reykjavik, you can Uber. I'm in the villages right now. I live in the villages. I could Uber, and in fact, Saturday I'm going to Orlando Airport by Uber. I'm only paying. Everybody talks about shuttles and transfers. I pre-reserved my Uber for Saturday for the exact time at my house to pick me up, and I'm only paying $78 to go to the Orlando Airport. You can do the exact same thing within 90 days of your departure, and you can book Uber. And if I wanted to go to the spot that through social or the documents that the escort is recommending on that day, I could do it in Uber. I could pre-reserve it, or 20 minutes from now, I could take an Uber to the location being recommended for the Aurora, and it would be no issue at all. It's easy to do. And to everyone that's listening to me, if you've never used Uber and you don't have it on your phone, don't think twice about that. It's just between now and going to Reykjavik or going anywhere else in the world, you want to take some time to put Uber on your phone, because it's a best friend for you. It's as valuable as your phone when you travel, to not ever be locked in terms of transport. Yeah, touching the wrong button.
That was all the questions I had.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
We all have.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you give that telephone number one more time? Thank you.
David, nice being with you.